see it happening now where, 5 years ago we might have said, well, someday.
The success we can show here is something we can be proud of and show the rest of the country in some ways, and in some ways the rest of the world, because this is a restoration story that not many other people can tell.
We talk about legacy pollutants that were left here for us to deal with by previous generations, but we've also been left with a legacy of a pretty cool place.
This area was designated as one of 43 areas of concern across the Great Lakes. And the primary rationale for designation was negative impacts from historic legacy misuse of the area. And there are 9 areas that are listed as areas that are not meeting certain standards or are impaired.
One of the big reasons that the St. Louis River area of concern was listed as an area of concern was sediment contamination. But there's other things in the sediment that are causing problems as well, like wood waste from sawmill operations.
And it's pretty interesting. That's an old log, old board right there. Yeah. Just discarded into the bay. I mean, it's all over. Here there's a little bit of muck, but you go over in the corner and it's all, your first 6 or 8 inches is nothing but wood waste. So
the big industry back at the turn of the century, from the late 1800s to the early 1900s, was sawmilling and moving timber.
Millions of board feet of lumber were processed through here, and at one point in time this entire area was covered in wood waste, up to 16 feet deep.
This is the one area of concern in Wisconsin on Lake Superior, and there's 4 on the Lake Michigan side, and they're all very different. Their histories are different. This one is unique in being a working industrial harbor, but it's also unique in the way it was delineated. The area of concern goes all the way up the St. Louis River to Cloquet and includes all of the Nemadji River watershed, but it also includes that southwest corner of Lake Superior.
This was a big industrial area at one time, and we still have industries. And industries are an important part of our economy here. But this was a booming industrial area, and before the Clean Water Act, before any of the regulations that are in place now, industries just, put their waste right into the river.
I moved here in 1965 from Madison, Wisconsin, took a job with the city. At that time, they advised you not to touch the water and not to swim and even avoid boating in it because it was so full of pollution and debris and things from industries upstream.
With the concentration of industries we had with coking operations, the steel mill, refinery, oil shipment in this area, we got a lot of PAHs, a lot of petroleum and coal-related compounds went right into the river.
Pollution and some of the industrial impacts to the estuary in the lower parts of the river had a pretty dramatic impact. And the development of the Western Lake Superior Sanitary District in the late 70s, it kind of started the tide towards turning this system around to a more healthy ecosystem.
Granted, we've made great strides over the past couple of decades with the sanitary district coming online, but like many people who know the community, you knew that the river was someplace a few decades you didn't go. No, it was kind of forgotten about, taken advantage of over the years. And to see that changing is really exciting for the community, and it kind of mirrors what's happening in the community at large.
We have too much to offer here. We love this community too much, and so we are going to take on those legacy problems. we're going to start cleaning up our natural environments. We're going to turn our attention to the lake and to the river and start enhancing the great attributes of our area.
Our core of people through the AOC framework study has sort of been on the cutting edge as far as lining up the process by which we're going to get this AOC delisted, you know, laying out beneficial use impairment blueprints and laying down a roadmap to how we're going to get from where we are now into recovery and then into delisting.
So the big partnerships here are between the states of Minnesota and Wisconsin, the agencies between them, the federal governments, the tribal government. So Fond du Lac Tribe is very involved in this. The local governments, so the City of Superior, City of Duluth, the counties are all involved, and the nonprofit groups are all at the table working on this.
One of the really important things is to make sure that we have good scientific understanding of the situation and then consensus on how to move forward.
What information do we need to know about each of these sites as we go about prioritizing which site should go next? Should it be remediated? Should it be restored? Should it be an R2R, remediation or restoration project? That's all got to be based on sound science.
There's been work done over the last 20 years in terms of assessing the condition of the estuary, trying to understand its ecology, understanding what the system used to be and what it used to provide in terms of ecosystem services, such as, you know, adequate fish populations, cleaning the water, providing habitat for birds and things like that.
Historically, it was a source of a huge amount of productivity for Western Lake Superior. So now, of course, due to a number of different impairments, you know, logging, industrial use, overfishing, the fish population suffered, and many of the species were actually driven into extirpation, driven into extinction.
Well, today we're doing a lake sturgeon assessment on the St. Louis River. We're trying to capture fish, and then if they don't already have a tag in them, we're putting a tag into them, and at some point down the road we'll likely see those fish again, and we can determine, you know, how much they've grown and what age they are. And
well, lake sturgeon are a native species that have been here hundreds of years, and they were extirpated from the area in the 19th century, probably from pollution and overfishing. And so the DNR undertook restoring the population in the early 80s, 1983.
Both Wisconsin and Minnesota DNR embarked upon reintroduction programs where we took certain species that were historically in the estuary and we reintroduced them. We've documented natural recruitment this last year, but we're having adults that are returning to the historical spawning grounds, and that's been occurring for 5 or 6 years now, and last year was the first time we actually documented successful natural reproduction.
I'd like to see, you know, the appreciation for the resource we have here.
Ultimately, what we want to see here was we want to see the water's drinkable, the fish are edible, and the beaches are swimmable.
And that we can all share this vision for, you know, this great place. Because, you know, a lot of people don't realize how wonderful the St. Louis River estuary is.
What I would like to see 30 years from now is that recovery continue.
I think this area has a lot of potential to connect a lot more people to the river and really make some of the connections between the health of the environment, the health of the river, the ability of people to live and recreate on the river, and how that's good for people to be connected to their environment.
To do that, though, it's going to take these big projects, and these are projects that range anywhere from 40 acres in size to 500 acres in size. And doing that kind of restoration really starts making a difference for the system.
Some of these projects are complex, they're expensive, but they can be done within a relatively short period of time if we have the necessary funding. And thanks to things like the Great Lakes Restoration Initiative, the Legacy Amendment, we're able to make that happen. And so that's a unique opportunity that we have right now.
We have a legacy on both sides, a legacy of problems and challenges, but also a legacy of really good, high quality, functioning habitats and ecological systems.
And I hope that we can hand off a positive legacy. And that legacy will be, we took the steps required to clean up the St. Louis River estuary.
From a global standpoint, we're in a really important place.
And I think it's time that we turned around from the lake, looked towards the river, and realized this is a fantastic asset we have for the community, but also for the state. There is nothing else like this throughout the Great Lakes, and we should recognize, appreciate it, and celebrate it.